Hello everyone, and welcome to D20 in Disguise, your source for expertise on world building, storytelling, and miniature making. Now, it has been a while. But luckily, my busy schedule has finally started calming down, so hopefully I can get back into regular bi-weekly uploads. Anyway, in today's video, we're going to be discussing how to insert, create, and use puzzles in your tabletop game. Now, this is a fun topic that I've really wanted to cover on the channel for quite a while, and I'm super happy that I'm finally able to discuss it. If you do end up enjoying today's video, then please be sure to hit that like button, and that subscribe button, and that notification bell so you don't miss a single one of my uploads. But without further ado, let's get right into today's video. Welcome to D20 in Disguise. Now, before we even jump into how you can design, insert, and use puzzles in your tabletop role-playing game, first we need to answer a vital question. Should you even insert or use or create that puzzle? Now, this is reliant on a couple of factors. Firstly, how much do your players enjoy puzzles? If your players love puzzles, then you should definitely consider putting in quite a few puzzles into your campaign and your session plans. If your players are indifferent towards puzzles, then an occasional puzzle never hurt anyone. However, if your players don't enjoy puzzles, at least generally, then you should be careful about how many puzzles you put into your campaign and into your sessions, if any at all. However, that doesn't mean that you're just forced to not put in any puzzles into your sessions at all if your players don't generally enjoy puzzles. There can be outliers to that rule. For example, I'm currently GMing a group which is infamously bad at puzzles. There have been multiple hilarious stories that we always talk about where they tried a lot of strange solutions to puzzles and none of them worked. I actually have a D&D story about one such instance with that group. If you'd like to go check it out, it will be at the end of the video and the description if you're interested. Even though that group doesn't generally enjoy puzzles, I usually aim for about 1 to 2 puzzles in about 5 sessions, with my sessions lasting around 3 hours each. That means around 1 to 2 puzzles per 15 hours of gameplay. That's quite a lot of time, that's quite a lot of separation between different puzzles for that group. The next thing you have to take into consideration when actually deciding if you should create a puzzle at all is how comfortable you as a GM are about creating puzzles. If you're new to GMing or if you're new to creating puzzles and inserting them into your sessions, you should either start simple with simple puzzles, simple riddles, that kind of stuff, or not really delve into it. A campaign which doesn't have any puzzles in it at all is not inherently a bad campaign. If you're more experienced with puzzle creating, however, obviously you can go a bit more crazy, a bit more elaborate, once again taking into consideration how into puzzles your players are. Now that you know whether or not you should actually create and design a puzzle, now let's discuss the 2 main types of puzzles in tabletop role-playing games: riddles and textile puzzles. The first category of puzzles, riddles, are pretty self-explanatory. A riddle can pretty much be any puzzle which uses words to describe the problem. That can be a classic riddle, that can be some sort of puzzle where you have to interact with different objects, but there's some sort of instruction written down. That could be an NPC telling the player characters what they need to do, and then the player characters and the players figuring out how to do that. On the other hand, textile puzzles involve less instruction. Instead, they throw you into an environment and force you to interact with physical objects around you in a certain way. A great example of textile puzzles as a general type of puzzle are the shrines in Zelda Breath of the Wild. Although many of the shrines in Breath of the Wild are very, very simple puzzles, if they can even be called puzzles, they get the idea across of there's no real instruction, but at the same time, there's a problem to be solved with the physical objects in the space around you. In layman's terms, textile puzzles, physical manipulation of the objects around you, riddles, verbal or written instruction on how to solve the puzzle or what the puzzle is. Now, of course, when designing multiple puzzles at once, you'll want to balance these two types of puzzles out. Heck, when you have puzzles separated by multiple sessions, multiple hours of gameplay, you'll really want to spread out and equalize these two types of puzzles, sprinkling in some riddles there, sprinkling in some textile puzzles there, and balancing them out. If you have too much of either, it can become bland. For example, for an upcoming session which I'm planning, I am designing a gauntlet of 3 puzzles. Now, first, there's going to be a riddle, a classic riddle, where the players have written instruction and they have to solve a puzzle. Next, there's going to be actually another riddle, but more focused on the textile puzzle aspect of that riddle. Finally, there's going to be a purely textile-based puzzle, where there's no instruction whatsoever, but there's strange objects in a room which obviously could represent some sort of problem, some sort of puzzle. From that you can see obvious riddle, kind of a mix of the two, and obvious textile puzzle, a good balance between the two types of puzzles. Finally, let's talk about how you should actually run puzzles in a session. From my experience, there's 2 methods of running puzzles in tabletop sessions. 1, you can do it improv, or 2, you can do it honest. Now, before I even put my opinion out there on both of these methods have a right place and a right time to be used. I personally tend to use one more than the other, but both of them are good methods which should be taken into account when you're planning to run a session with puzzles. When you run a puzzle improv, you either have a specific solution to the puzzle in mind, but you're ready to let go of that specific solution, or you just have no specific solution to the puzzle at all. Now, how do your players actually solve a puzzle if there's no explicit solution to the puzzle? Well, there's a few methods you can take here. First, you can wait until the players do something cool or interesting to solve the puzzle, and then you let them through. You say, oh yes, that was the solution, the door opens, a secret passage appears, that was the correct solution to the puzzle. On the other hand, when you run a puzzle honest, that means that you have a specific solution to that puzzle in mind and you stick to that solution. If they don't find that solution, they don't solve the puzzle. Now, personally, I prefer to run my puzzles honest, or at least with a blend of the two, where you have a specific solution in mind, but if they can't really find that solution, or if it's too obscure, then you let them through anyway, but you still have that specific solution in mind. What I as a player enjoy in a puzzle is the challenge, the struggle, and then the success. However, if there is no real solution to the puzzle, and eventually the GM's just going to hand it to you, hand the solution of the puzzle to you on a silver platter, you're practically being railroaded. It's not railroading necessarily, but you're practically being railroaded to success. When you run a puzzle honest, there's always a chance of failure. Actually, there's a large chance of failure, especially if the solution to the puzzle is a difficult one. And honestly, failure of a puzzle in the end can lead to even more interesting things in the players coming up with crazy workaround ideas, which can spark even cooler stories in your D&D sessions. Now, that's just my personal opinion on all of this. Both improv and honest puzzles have the right place and the right time to be used, but I personally prefer the latter. And that's just about it on the overview of how to start the process of creating puzzles in your tabletop sessions. Now, I specifically strayed away from any specific ideas or concepts when creating puzzles. I was purposefully doing an overview, because puzzles can span far and wide in tabletop role-playing games. Some puzzles are on one end of the spectrum, and other puzzles are on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. You can go wherever you want with puzzles, and that's the cool thing about them. I'm truly glad to be back making videos. I've missed it, I really have. And I'm really excited for the future videos which I'm going to publish. I'm excited for where this journey will continue to take me. Anyway, you all have a great day. Keep on creating, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.